Hi, welcome to the Israel First television program live from our studios in Jerusalem. We welcome you all across the world. Thank you for joining us today. Not everybody, Natalie, in the world agrees with what's going on, and in Israel, not everybody is happy with what's going on. One of the rabbis who's speaking out about this current situation is Israeli Rabbi Hanya Weizmann. Some of you may well have come across him, and he said, comparing the experimental injectable, and says, compare this painstaking calculation of benefits versus risks with the wild pronouncement of rabbis and other pundits of our time. They have decided, or to be precise, have had it decided for them that everybody must become a pincushion, and I've talked about this before, for the pharmaceutical companies. And they must be tortured in increasingly cruel ways until they voluntarily surrender. This is Rabbi Hanya Weizmann. The collateral damage of these policies is occasionally mentioned as an afterthought, only to pretend these ramifications were anything more than a public relations nuisance for those making the policies. In simple terms, Hanya Weizmann says they don't care at all. This is the pharmaceutical companies. And really, in a way, you can understand that because, Natalie, they're there to make a profit, and they don't really have a very good history. I remember, in the 60s, we had the pharmaceuticals that we used for pregnancy, and there were a lot of problems with those particular drugs. This bulldozer approach, says Hanya Weizmann, has filtered into the minds of those who've acquiesced to their tormentors and become little tormentors as well. First, they accepted that the injections were worth the risk. Then they accepted that the risks are not even consequential. Then they accepted that anyone who disagrees is evil, the cause of all our suffering, and no punishment is too great for them. And there are no breaks, no boundaries, no limits, which is something which I really believe is happening. It's like the restraints of society are going. It's a game of can you top this, and we're fast reaching the point of anything goes. It's no surprise that much of the world population has bought into this because they don't have an objective standard of good and evil. No clear boundaries and limits for anything they believe to be good. Anything they believe is good. What is most tragic is so many Jewish people who appear to be devoted to the Torah have completely lost their bearings. They are egged on by anti-Torah political figures, some of them who pretend to be religious, and phony rabbis who work for the establishment and make increasingly unhinged proclamations with each passing day. So something very wrong is going on. Meanwhile, that's Thursday morning, that's this morning, Israel's Supreme Court are hearing Israeli lawyers concerning the petition for the cancellation of the controversial Green Pass vaccine passport by members of the Public Emergency Council for the Coronavirus. We've talked about this council before. It's an independent Israeli organization comprising leading doctors, researchers, and welfare professionals have decided that they can no longer remain silent in the face of the government's mismanagement of this whole situation.
That's it. So we're waiting for the results any time now today, because they were meeting and there was people outside of the Supreme Court to stand with the people and supporting them. So we're going to see what's happening. I tell you, Mart, I'm getting very cross to see this government, and people say, oh, you are not part of this, you are not Israeli, so you can't say anything. But I live in this country, and we live now for 12 years here, and we can see the difference. And to hear Bennett lying day after day, the best thing that he's done yesterday is to go on TikTok, because he knows that a lot of kids go on that, and saying to them, yes, the vaccine is good, and he's trying to show again and again that the vaccine is good for children, when we know that children, even if they have the COVID, they can
side effects.
No. I mean, they would be okay 99.98%. I mean, it's almost 100%. And this is healthy kids will have no problem at all. We saw many kids who had it, and maybe
And-
one day they were feeling bad, and after they were fine, and now they have antibodies. And the antibodies is also for a long time, because a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, but after your antibodies go down, la la la. But this is not, if it goes down, you have also the T cells, which is like memory. It's like a computer when you have two memory way of keeping, like, you know, for the virus, they know the antibodies are the first one, and then when the antibodies are down, your T cell are there, and if the virus is coming again, is like your T cell will make again antibodies, will remind your body, hey, you know, you had already this virus, and you know how to fight it, so let us fight again. And so they have already the mechanism. Our body is made in such an amazing way, okay? And yesterday again, I listened to some report, and because there is more and more doctors now who are saying, okay, something is wrong, and around the world, and they are doing their own research, and they are finding some, like we knew about the graphene, but now they find some parasite, and now they find some, what was the other thing? Oh, they find some, some steel, metals, and put together. I mean, it's like it's like unbelievable what they are finding in this vaccine.
Well,
but the thing is also what I discovered, because we are listening a lot of things of doctors and scientists, and now it seems also, which makes totally is like logical, but I never thought about that, is like the vaccine is not always the same.
No.
Okay, so they are doing different type of things in a different vaccine in a different time, and so you have like different sickness. And like I heard again now, they are going to say, because they are going to give it to the children. Oh, you know, we are going to see some disease about children who are going to have like kind of polio type of disease. How can they know that?
Yeah, and I said to Nathalie that what concerned me was...
I'm getting very cross, Matt.
What concerned me was that I saw barcodes on the vials of the
vaccine,
of the injectable, and that concerned me because it's traceable. Now you might say, well, everything's got barcodes on, but it just set off an alarm bell for me, and it reminded me of an election in the UK that Nathalie and I were involved in, when we gave our ballot papers, and it had a number on the paper, and I was like,
so
well,
they could know what we were voting for.
I could know what and you know, it was concerning because it should be a secret ballot. That's the whole thing of society, is that it's a secret ballot and had numbers on the papers. And the same thing with the vials for the injectable, that it had a barcode on it. And again, I didn't like that. I don't. There was something in it, rang an alarm bell, and I think there's something wrong with that. Now, one of the things that's important for you to understand is that in Israel, not everybody is agreeing to what's going on. There's been freedom protests regularly happening across the country, and there was a freedom protest just this Saturday, and a night in Tel Aviv, and I think there was one in Jerusalem as well. And it's against the vaccine coercion and the highly discriminatory and unnecessary Green Pass injectable passport. Thousands of pro-freedom, anti-tyranny protesters marched through Tel Aviv city centre on Saturday night, August 28th, 2021, against Israel's experimental gene therapy injectable program. Meanwhile, over 1 million Israelis eligible for the injectable have not yet received one, according to the Health Ministry. Transportation Minister Merav Mitchell reportedly suggested Sunday during the meeting that health maintenance organisations should preemptively, unbelievable, that means they just do make the appointments without even you arranging them, shot appointments for those who haven't yet received their experimental injectables. Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, as well as Health Minister Horowitz, expressed interest in the proposal. Finally, discrimination in Israel reaches new heights as The ministers on Thursday approved significantly expanding restrictions on gatherings under the Green Pass system, which will now extend to hotels, restaurants and gyms, gatherings of any size, indoors and outdoors, and also not now limited to those who have had the injectable. Unbelievable. So, the discrimination is coming. I guess that's coming across the world, and maybe you can let us know what's happening in your country. But discrimination in Israel is reaching unparalleled heights.
We can't go to a restaurant
Right.
now.
You can't go to the
Like we have our wedding anniversary
Mhm.
and we can't go to a restaurant because we are not vaccinated and
Right.
happy not to be vaccinated.
Right. And so, unbelievably, government ministers have okayed barring teachers who have not taken, and doctors who have not taken the injectable from their workplace. The Israeli Teachers Union has said that they will take legal action against this discrimination against these teachers who have been banned from schools. Ministers of the COVID cabinet voted on Monday, that's just this Monday, to expand the highly discriminatory Green Pass system, limiting entry to education, health and social welfare institutions. Government statement said applying the unjust system to schools, hospitals and welfare facilities means employees, including teachers, doctors, nurses, caregivers, will only be granted entry if they have the Green Pass. The expanded rules, approved by a select panel of ministers tasked with forming the virus policy, will also unfairly apply to workers in all places where customers are required to abide by the Green Pass passport system, and expands on existing restrictions. So here we go. There's a huge divide being set up in Israel. Unbelievable, before our very eyes. Discrimination on a level I've never seen. For something that should have been, that was allegedly 2 weeks lockdown, and we'll sort it out. So, and that was in 2020, and we're now in 2021. Nothing has been sorted out.
September 2021. And I have another story for you. Yesterday I watched a video, and it was a man who was going to see his doctor, just, normal thing. And he's unvaccinated, and his doctor was with obviously like a mask on her face. And she said to him, "Give me your card, your health card." And so she put a paper on like a tissue, and she had gloves, and she take his health card because like she didn't want to touch it because he touched it, and like he was like the one with leprosy. And after she said in the conversation, "I hope that you all people who are unvaccinated will disappear soon." I mean, like, unbelievable. And after he was saying, "Excuse me, what are you doing?" And so, like, there was like conflicts between them. And she go to ask a guard to come to take him out of the place. I mean, it's like unbelievable what's happening.
Yeah, and the reason that we're reporting this to you is because Israel first. The situation that will happen around the world is happening first in Israel. And we've just had something which should be a very celebratory time, something which should be something good, and that's the Israeli schools have returned, the children have returned to school. But unfortunately, it's total chaos, Nathalie. 2.4 million Israeli children head back to school, with 250,000, listen to this, children unable to attend due to quarantine and class closures. Many parents still don't know if their children tested positive or negative for antibodies, despite waiting in line in the hot sun for up to 3 hours last week for these nonsensical tests. That's just last week, as we've come in the studio today. Israeli parents are shaking their heads in anger and confusion amid COVID chaos, as some 2.5 million mass students rush off to the opening day of school, eager to see their friends, but sadly to arrive in the new abnormal. The schools have not yet really been organised, said Andrea Tovim of Petah Tikva, who has 5 children ranging in age from 2 to 6. Some of the places did not even send out a WhatsApp or an email yesterday. When Tovim learned that all the children over the age of 3 had to have a rapid home COVID antigen test on Tuesday. She called her friends all over the city, unsure of where to get the test and how to administer it. She found that nobody knew anything. For most parents, it's still unclear how the results will be checked this week. This is the week we've come into the studio. Jerusalem mother said she'd save the negative sticks from these tests in plastic bags and photograph them. I mean, she's very wise. You know, this is just nonsense. High schoolers in red cities. Now we've got different coloured cities: orange, red, green. It's like a traffic light. In red cities, high schoolers and in classrooms with fewer than 70% of the students having had the experimental injectable will revert to homeschool learning. The zones and quarantines actually mean some 2.5 million students won't even be in their classrooms, Natalie. 94,000 students are infected or in isolation, allegedly, and another 150 are in red zones with not enough children who have had the experimental injectable, meaning they are learning on Zoom or in open spaces, the latter being a last-minute allowance by the education and health ministries. Many parents still don't know if their children tested positive or negative for these antibodies. The results went missing. Unbelievable, Natalie. The results went missing. One Jerusalem father...
This is all by purpose, you know. And when, like, I think it was 2 weeks ago, there was the Minister of Education. She's an amazing lady, and she was really standing for having normal time for the school, that the vaccine won't, that the PCR and all of that won't be at home, in the school, and the vaccine won't be in the school either. If you think that these injectables are not good for the children anyway, I mean, it's a chaos. So you can see the health. So we carry on with this. So the education is put totally in chaos right now. So you can imagine the family are in chaos because the education is in chaos, or the children going to school. The children can't go to school, so the parents can't go to work properly. I mean, it's a right mess. And then you have the Ministry of Health, who is doing some crazy things, and the health system is falling down by purpose. Okay, it's not because of the COVID. They are taking this COVID for breaking the system, and this is not just in Israel, because we hear stories especially from England and from France, and the system in France was very good and is falling apart. And in England, I heard some horrific stories of doctors who don't want to see their patients, and I mean, it's just crazy. And we need to know we need to look at the big picture, okay? And this is not, is by purpose, and is all around the world, because the New World Order want to create chaos, because they want also depopulation, and they are doing everything for that.
And they want to bring in their own system. So they'll come as the saviors in the middle of all the chaos and say, look, we've got this new system, you can all join it. And everybody will want to join it because obviously nobody wants chaos. So when the New World Order comes in...
command the earth and you will be in peace.
Right. So in Israel, as Natalie was saying, there is a lot of difficulties in the health service. By the way, one of the difficulties is because they sacked the doctors who didn't want to have the injectable. So the nurses and doctors who didn't want to have the injectable were sacked. So one of the reasons the hospital is short of staff isn't anything to do with the virus, it's to do with them sacking the staff.
Yes, and the people, and they are right, because some doctors can see what's happening with this injectable, and they don't want to give it to the people, and they don't want it themselves, and they don't want to give it to the people. So it's like people are making the stands now, and it's chaos.
Now, unvaccinated Israeli citizens are facing dangers in the health service, as a top Israeli doctor has warned that they shouldn't expect any compassion, like Natalie was saying about that other doctor, when needing medical treatment. Not long after the Israeli Prime Minister's statement that unvaccinated Israelis are firing bullets of viral variants at their fellow citizens. Now, let's just be clear about this. This is healthy people who've decided not to have the injectable, who are allegedly unhealthy. You know, it doesn't make
I know.
any sense. And by the way, they're not the ones even in hospital, because
I know.
a hospital
I know.
doctor has said that the majority of people in hospital are
I
vaccinated.
know.
So none of the things they're saying is making any sense.
And you know, I have a very good story also that I heard today, that there was somebody on the radio, Glance something, and I can't remember the name of you know, it's a famous radio show in the morning, and he invited one of the doctors from Ashdod Hospital, and was going to say that it's terrible in a hospital, and is the anti-vax who are the majority are sick and all of that. So the lady arrived and they had the interview, and she said exactly the opposite. She said, no, it is the vaxxed people, the people who have the injectable, who are much more in trouble and who are in the hospital. And so he was, because he didn't want her to say that, he wanted to say exactly the opposite. And she said the truth. And he was like, crumbs, that's it. What, you know, all my program is destroyed by what she said, because she agreed before to say what he was saying. And there is some doctors now who are standing up and saying, hey, this is not right.
Now, you know, in the middle of everything, you are saying, well, what on earth is going on? Well, you know, we've been talking for many weeks about the Book of Enoch, and I've suggested it's very good reading at the moment because it gives us an understanding of a bigger picture. Like Natalie was saying, you have to look a bit bigger. It isn't one section of the community against another. That's not the issue. And you know, we had Arab Jewish riots in Israel, but it's just part of the thing. It's not the main picture. You have to look at the whole picture. Now we have got evil on a level that we've never seen before operating in the world. And, you know, this new technology, this experimental technology with these injectables, you know, we spoke about this on previous programs, that there were the Nephilim, the giants were in the land, and the fallen angels were teaching technology to man that he shouldn't have. And I was wondering about this, that some of the technology we have now, maybe we shouldn't even have it, or maybe we certainly shouldn't be using it. It was technology to change the DNA, and that's why there was Noah's time. That was why there was the flood, to remove all of this changed DNA animals and humans. And you know, we've talked about the fact that there were giants, but there were also monsters and dragons and all the funny creatures that you see in fairy tales and stories. These strange things that were made had to be removed. They were not made by God. They were made by the changing of the DNA. And so God had to remove all of this from the earth, which you can understand because it was evil. And as I said before, the Nephilim, the giants, were evil. And you know, this is what we're seeing on the earth at the moment. We're seeing evil on a level that we've never ever seen it before. There has been evil before. And by the way, one of the things that the angels taught the fallen angels taught the human race was war. And I always thought, well, war came because of man fighting against man. You know, we know the story of Cain and Abel in the book of Genesis. But it doesn't say that. It says that war was taught by the fallen angels, and they taught man war. So we know that there's wars that have happened that are evil. The Holocaust was evil, and what we're seeing in the world today is evil, bringing total chaos to every area, whether that's business life, whether that's working in a hospital, whether that's trying to work in a clinic. I was in a doctor's clinic the other day. It was total chaos, and people have to work in this very strange and dangerous environment because nobody knows what's going on, and things can happen suddenly. When I was there was 2 people rushed into the surgery in very difficult circumstances, in a lot of pain, and you know, it was just chaotic, and I've never seen it like that. And this is the first time I've ever seen it like that in Israel. Normally, okay, you have to queue or you have to wait, and you know, there are long waiting times, but I've never seen the absolute chaos that we're experiencing at the moment. And I think you've got something quickly to share with us, Nat?
Yes. First, we want to say it's Rosh Hashanah, so we want to say Happy New Year. It's going to be 5782, which is like important, but not only that, you know, when we see what's happening around the world right now, you know, in the month of Elul is when the people are looking at what they've done in their life. Oh my gosh. I hope that Bennett is looking at it. I'm sorry, but it's like he's not in my good book right now. But I wanted to speak to you rapidly about the 13 attributes of God, because we're going, this is Rosh Hashanah, then Yom Kippur and Sukkot. And during this special time, we're looking also how God is compared to all this evil. Okay, we're made in the image of God, and this attribute that God has is something that it should be for us the way how to behave with each other. Okay, and I'm going to give it to you because it's like so amazing, and you can meditate on that. It's just amazing. So first attribute is the name of God, because it means, so Yud, He, Vav and He, okay, or Yehovah, some people say, is like, is show the compassion of God before a person sin, okay? Then you have again his name, Yud, He, Vav, He. On the other side, he has the compassion even after a person sin. So it's to show how he loves humanity, okay? Then he has the name El, which is El like Elohim, El, which means he's mighty in compassion. Then you have Rachum, I love this name, is like being merciful to humankind, okay? Look at all the things, the evil that's happening right now, and look how God is compared to that. Then is Ve'hanun. So this is to really help the people so they won't be in distress. This is how God is with us, okay? And then you have Ve'hanun, sorry. Yeah, is what I said. Sorry. I'm gonna go back. Rachum is when God is merciful to human before that he won't be in distress, okay? So it's like God already have compassion and is merciful, so the humankind won't be in distress. And then you have Ve'hanun, and this is gracious if the humankind has been in distress. So it's like before and after. He's always trying that everything will be good for us, and is how he is all the time. Then after 1, 2, 3, 4, the sixth one is Echer Apaim. So he is slow in anger. Okay. Then you have V'chav Chesed. This is beautiful. It's like full of chesed, of kindness. So God is kind all the time. He's thinking kind things about us all the time. Then you have Emet. Emet is truth. He stands for the truth. Then you have Notzer Chesed La'afamim. La'alafim, which means that he show kindness, not just to you, but like for 1,000 generations. So even if you've been good, and you've done kindness to the world, God will carry on rewarding the next generation of the kindness that you've done. Okay, so to show you the bounty of his kindness. Then you have Nose Avon. He's the one who forgives iniquity. Then is Va Fesha ou Pesha. Is like, this is like for transgression. So again, he forgives transgression. Then Ve'chata'a, he also forgives sins. And Ve'nakeh, he cleans that, he pardons. So he's not just forgetting, he's not just forgiving, but he's forgetting. So when you say sorry to God and you come back to him, he's like, okay, it's all right. I know how you were. and okay, we don't want to speak about it. Let us start all over again. We clean everything. So you see, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, we come to this time where we look in our life, but we look at how our God is and how good He is, and we learn to be good like He is good. We try to be a tiny bit like Him, and it's like He's changing all the world. And so this is our good wishes for this year. We see so many bad things around, like bountiful evil, but us, we want to bring kindness, we want to bring compassion, we want to forgive each other, we want to forget the things who are bad, we clean our slate, we start a new life. You know, Rosh Hashanah is the new head. Rosh Chodesh is like a new month. Chodesh comes from Chadash. Chadash is new. So we start something new. It's like we are born again. We're like starting all anew. And we're looking at how God is, how good He is, how His compassion, His kindness with humankind. And we know that after all this evil, the righteous will inherit the land, and everything will be over, and we will see the redemption, and we see good time and good things happening.
Amen. So thank you so much for joining us today. Don't forget you can support us at our website. We're having our summer fundraising campaign, just the end of it. So if you'd like to join in that, raising funds for our studio, then please click on the website. Our website is www.israelfirst.org. You can email us. We love to receive your emails. Please tell us about what's happening in your area. If you're watching today, please tell us where you're watching from. It's great to hear from different people across the world. Our email is info@israelfirst.org. And don't forget, we are the program that looks at the land, the people, and the language.